Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Alright, so this video is going to be kind of a random video. There's a couple subjects I want to throw in here, a couple thoughts that just came up. And one of the things I wanted to say is, here's the deal. I talked to an old client today. He just called me. Well, no, he's not old, but he's from a few years back, a little bit more than a few years. And he said, man, I've been watching your videos on narcissist abuse. He goes, man, you are dead on. So he's been studying kind of narcissist abuse, but more like psychopathic people. And he says, man, you are saying the exact same thing as these people that, these books I read years ago, blah, 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 blah. And so something kind of came up from that. So he's essentially saying, you're dead on. This is what these authors are saying, these writers, people about psychopathic people, okay? And he goes, and I don't remember what he said, but it made me realize, here's how I've been doing this, okay? I haven't read books on narcissist abuse. I did watch a lot of videos over the last couple of years, and I read a book called Who's Pulling Your Strings, so that was many years ago. I interpreted as, they're talking about narcissist abuse. And there was another book I bought back then. It was a very similar subject, although they didn't use the term narcissist abuse, neither did the other one, but I can't find that book and I don't remember the title. But other than that, everything that I'm talking about is just it's literally like there's a piece, the first piece I'm talking about today, it literally hit me yesterday. So essentially what I'm saying is everything that I've brought to you is fresh. It's stuff that just, it pops up into my head, or I see it like, I see it now. And then I make a video. So it's intuitive. It's coming up fresh. It's my own brain's amalgamation, or I do believe it's actually coming, especially this piece, it's actually kind of a download from God. And the reason why I say this is because I was literally walking out of my bedroom into the hallway, and it was like this idea, like a realization, it just came to me, okay? So I'm going to share it with you right now. Again, remember, this is going to be kind of amalgamation of a couple random different thoughts. So I don't know what I'm going to title this video. Okay, here we go. So here's the realization that I had the other day, just yesterday actually. It's that your life was a test. So here's what I mean. So your mother, your father, your family, your best friends, girlfriends, spouses, husbands, wives, even your career, it was all a loyalty test. Okay, and here's what I mean. Alright, so a lot of Alright, so you were loyal to people that treated you like shit, and I mean really bad. You were dealing with narcissists. You were dealing with the worst of the worst. So the lessons that we were taught, and the thing is, as a society, not just America, but throughout the world, Europe, Russia, everywhere, is that family's everything, okay? And that's what we hear. Well, this teaching, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is and was and has been done by narcissists. Narcissists want to make sure that you never, ever, ever, ever leave them, no matter how bad they abuse you. So that's why they put a lot of what I call false or fake beliefs out there, like, family's everything. You got to be there for family through thick and thin. And that's even what they say, through thick and thin, like no matter what. And now they're looking at you like, gotcha. So if you haven't already heard it from another channel or from church or spiritual teaching, is that you are not always born into your family, okay? The people in your family may not be your family members. Now here's the worst part. It is very possible, at least some, if not all of the people in your family, they were your sworn enemies from a past life. Their number one goal is to turn you against God. That is the demon's number one goal, is to turn you to where you turn against God. And don't worry about it, you haven't. See, if they can do that, that is like a massive, massive victory for them. Like that is like a celebratory time for them. If they can get one of the innocents, one of the pure, to turn against God, they celebrate from high heaven. And if they can't, well, they don't like that. So for a lot of us, it was very hard to leave that special girlfriend or the special husband or wife or, whatever, depending on, your orientation. And it was, even when friends or family, even therapists, like, hey, this person's no good for you. I mean, like, listen to what you just told me. You literally just said blah, blah, blah. Like what are you thinking? Like, well, when you're either in love or really when you're wrapped up in that whole narcissistic fog, you don't want to let them go because you want to find a way to get them to love you. Well, if you have to work to get someone to love you, they're not in love with you. So you need to leave right away. But Mike, the narcissists throughout the centuries have said it's through thick and thin, through abuse and more abuse. I can't leave because there's a rule. This is what they said. It's been really cool the last couple days, maybe weeks, because I put out a video that said, hey, just because you go to a church, do not think you're in a safe space. There's a fair amount of people that are there that are narcissistic, and they're looking for vulnerable people like you. That's why they go to churches. I mean, it's a perfect fishing pond, man. It's like this pond has a lot of really good source energy, man. I mean, it's everywhere. Just drop your hook in and boom, you get an empath. All right, so a lot of you have just really been speaking out saying, oh, that's so true. Not all psychotherapists, psychiatrists, etc. They're not all good. Some of them are narcissists, and some people in the church are narcissists. So look, I'm not saying that all are narcissists. I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, in these professions where, God, you got to understand, like, the church is like the number one fishing ground for narcissists. They love that place. And what do you think are top professions for narcissists to go into? Yep, psychology, psychotherapist, and psychiatrist, because you guys are suckers. You guys walk right in there believing like, oh, it's a doctor, it's a psychologist. They're going to be nice to me. Not necessarily. Okay, so let's settle this down just a little bit. Okay, so here's what I'm really trying to say. Now, do you guys remember Abraham in the Bible? God was asking him to sacrifice his son Isaac. So God was testing Abraham to see if he trusted him. So it's a pretty dramatic story where this loving father was God basically says, hey man, you either pick me or you pick your son. And if you pick me, you literally have to sacrifice/kill your son. And so I'm sure this was really hard for Abraham to do this. I'm sure this was a pretty extreme experience. Now, this thought about Abraham came up after, okay? So yesterday when I was walking into the hallway, this thought of like, it was an image of my mother, and it's like, people have been telling me since 8th grade. I had friends from school just go, dude, your mother, your family's no good for you. I've had therapists. It's kind of funny because one of the therapists was my sister who said, hey, you got to go see this therapist. And the first thing this therapist said was, you got to get the fuck away from your family. Your sister has told me everything that they've done to you. So I decided I wanted to be a honey badger. No, I'm just kidding. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So in all seriousness, the image in my mind was of an image of my mom, and it was the moment. And now here's the thing, like, you got to understand, it wasn't like in 8th grade. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to leave my family. See you later. It wasn't like that. It took years. And I mean, oh God, I think I was 28 or 29 years old when I finally, and it was at the behest of a really good friend who let me live with him for a year and, basically get myself back together and stuff. And he was like, dude, he goes, I'm really sorry, but you just got a bad hand, like a deck of cards. He goes, you just got a really bad hand. He goes, Mike, I'm sorry, but your family is just not there for you. In fact, they're doing everything to really bring you down. So my overall thought was this: there was a lot of really, really deep heartbreaks along the road. All kinds of heartbreaks, from letting go of girlfriends to realizing, well, this person is just like, okay, it's like, I would say it was, the first time I did it was when my friend was like, hey, just don't talk to your family for a year and then go back and then you'll see it. And when I went back, the first day they were really nice, but the second day they started being smart asses. The third day they just like railed into me, yelling, screaming, and it went right back to the way it was from day one. So all I'm trying to say is it was really, really heartbreaking. And I looked back at all these different people that I had to cut out of my life. And, in the beginning it was hard, but the more you do it, the better it gets. Now, okay, here was one major plus that I really began to notice. So then I would meet someone else. So let's say, okay, my business was doing really, really well, right? So back then I used to put ads in weekly papers and I did really well. Phone would ring every freaking day, clients all the time, book sales all the time. And then somebody would come into your life and you go to clubs, you go out, hang out, meet the girls and whatever. And it was a fun time. It was something to go fishing with and just, So here's what I began to notice is all of a sudden my business would just stop. Now here's the thing you have to understand. I had this 3-line ad in 2 different papers, sometimes 3, and it would go to a phone number, which would go to a voicemail, which had like a 2 or 3 minute intro of what the course was about. Actually, I think it was a little bit longer. And I had a really, really good spiel, and that phone would ring, man. And so everything was hooked up the same, and I would check the paper, like, man, is my ad not running this week? Well, what's going on? Is the voice message not working? And I'd use my friend's phone, use it for, to test, make sure it was just my phone, and everything was running fine. And yet, people stopped calling. And so then eventually I would get sick and tired of this person, realize that they were a major drain on my energy, like, get the hell out of my life. And boom, the damn phone would start ringing about a day or 2 later, and boom, and it would start ringing. People would start emailing me, asking me questions, and boom, now I'm back in business. And I'm back on the happy track. So things are going good. I'm happy. I'm making money. Life is good. I'm traveling, going to Hawaii or, wherever. Like, things were really, really prosperous back then. And it was a really fun time. And then I'd meet someone else, and then business would start to slow down again. Now, here's the thing you got to say. Well, maybe it worked and starts. No. That is not what it was. Because back then, it wasn't based on posting on social media every freaking day. Back then, it's like you had ads, you did a voice message, and then boom, you got business. And that's the way I ran my business. It was very successful. So here's my point. Then I got rid of this next person, and bam, business picked up again. And I thought, now wait a minute, what the hell's going on here? This is before I understood what a narcissist was and how it's like a spiritual, energetic connection, how they drain your energy. It affects everything in your life, even if it's not like you must, because you go, well, yeah, but you probably talked to those people on the phone and you were probably a little bit scrambled from. No, the phone wouldn't ring. No emails were, everything just stopped. So it's not like people were contacting me and having a conversation to where I was like on an unconscious, like spinning or confused, and they're like, I gotta get out of here. No, there was just no contact. Now, back then, that was probably my early 30s to mid 30s, and I just noticed this pattern. Now, it was really hard. It's like, man, fuck, now I gotta get rid of another fucking person. It's like, well, they are being dick. My business is going down, so I'd get rid of them eventually, but it sucked. It was really hard. So a lot of you have been in love, and realized later they were narcissists. You might have been in love for years or months or probably years and years. And then you're like, man, even if you didn't even know what a narcissist was, you just realize, like, everyone's like, dude, you got to get this person out of your life. They're completely ruining you. But it was hard. It was heartbreaking. This is someone you're married to. This is someone you had children with. This is someone that you lived with, and on and on and on. It was fucking hard. And just like Abraham, God says, hey, you got to sacrifice your child. And this thought came a little bit later, and I looked it up because I couldn't remember. I'm horrible with names, business names, street names, like people's names. Like, I am horrible with names, so please understand I have a hard time remembering people's names. I'm really good with faces, but with names I suck. So I understand the Bible very, 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 very well. I just suck at memorizing names to the point where I don't even try. It either clicks or it doesn't. And the good news is I have a lot of you guys out there that are very biblical or willing to Google it, and then you post it down there in the comments. So I really do appreciate that. So here's my overall message. These people were never your family. These people were never your friends. They were never your lovers, ever. And that's the thing that you had to realize. It's like I said, back in the 90s, or probably 90, 91, my first Tony Robbins seminar, Unlimited Power, the fire weekend where you walked on fire, is he had said during the seminar, like, hey, sometimes the family you're born into isn't your family. I remember looking at him like, What are you talking about? Because now you got to understand, I'm Italian and we were raised, family's everything, right? And that's why it was so hard for me to break away from my family, because it was like, I can't do that. That's my family. So a couple of years later, I heard some lady talking about how family is people that love you. Family is people that support you. Family is people that are there for you when you need them. And she's like, is your family like that? When you asked your brother to help you, with this problem, did he help you when he could? Did this person help you? Did your friend help you? Were they there for you? And I'm thinking, no, I needed help with this one thing. And it literally was a 15-minute drive to go get my car. And the person I asked said, oh, I'm busy. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm watching TV. I'm like, well, what is it? Some important show? No, it's just a blah, blah comedy show. I'm like, wait, what? And and this was when I was snapping out of it. I was about 29 years old, and I was like, are you serious? Because I had just helped them do the same thing, and I literally missed a class in college to give them a ride to pick up their damn car. And I'm looking at this guy like, are you fucking serious? Because they're going to charge me another $150 if I don't get it out right now. Someone had stolen my car, and it was in not storage, but I forget what they call it, where they basically tow your car to. So someone stole my car a couple of weeks before, and the cops finally found it, like, oh yeah, it's in this tow yard. And they were charging me by the fucking day $150. I'm like, dude, I got to get it like right now. Oh no, man, I can't do it. I go, dude, it closes like in an hour and a half. I go, it's only 15-minute drive. No, man, I watch my favorite TV show. And that's when I realized, like, man, how many times have I gone to bat for this motherfucker? And this guy is, and I realized, like, every time I ask this person for help, they're like, no, I'm too busy sitting on my ass. And that's literally what he was doing. And yet every time this person needed my help, there was more than a few times when this person seriously, some legal like with the law and some other stuff, and then some really big problems, like they needed me right now. And each and every time, including the times when they just needed to move furniture, they were moving from one house to another, it may not have been an emergency, but like, hey, we don't got no one else, we need you to help us out. And I did every single time. Never was reciprocated. My point, people, is that is not family. I don't care if it is family. I don't care if it's family, in-laws. If people do not reciprocate, if they don't stand up for you, they're not there for you. Period. And you need to walk. Stop wasting your time, because those people are going to be taking up your time when you could be spending time with other people who are going to reciprocate. All right, let's throw this one in right here because it kind of fits in where I was at. So a person who doesn't defend you while someone slanders you is your enemy too. And that's okay. That's why when I realized that these people are flying monkeys, like they don't like, even though they saw the bullshit that was done to you or done to me, and they don't really stand up for you and say, hey, that was fucked up what you did, Mike. Why would you do that? If they don't do that, they're not on your side. So the moment I realized someone's a flying monkey, because there was an experience where someone actually saw this person do quite a few things to me. Like, why do they keep doing that to you? I'm like, dude, I don't know, but I'm done. I am fucking done. And so then what ended up happening, this person ended up contacting me later, probably at the behest of the narcissist. Oh, well, it was really your fault. I'm like, no. You were the one who kept pointing it out to me. Remember, you're the one who said, why did they do this to you? Like, that's fucked up. And now you're saying that somehow that I'm the messed up one because I walked away? Nah. So a lot of you are like, yeah, but they got all these flying monkeys. Yeah, but the flying monkeys are they're number one, they're idiots. Number two, they were going to turn on you at the drop of a hat. They were never there for you. If these people, like, if this person wasn't standing up for you, I'm like, well, why do I care? I don't, because they're my enemy. All right, so here's the overall message. The greater purpose of this overall message is this. And I'm sure you've read it in memes, but you may have not quite understand it. And I'm just going to spit it out there. I don't know if it may make sense after everything I said. So essentially, God is saying, look, I have something better for you. Now, here's what a lot of us do. Yeah, right. Sure you do, God, because I've heard that stuff before. It's like, no, if you listen to God, God has something better for you. So the good news about Abraham and Isaac is God literally stopped him right before he sacrificed him and said, no, stop. And therefore, it's like, thank God, Abraham didn't have to kill his own son. And so here's the thing with you, is like you have to walk away from these people because God has something better for you. Now, okay, here's the problem with that. That sounds airy-fairy. Oh, God's got something better for you. And you hear that from people like, oh my God, like, geez. Well, here's the deal. He does. When you start walking away from these people, you start receiving better people in your life and better opportunities. And here's the other thing I noticed. Oh, geez, this is probably about 18 years ago when I first started noticing it. It's like certain people would come into my life and I felt drained and everything in my life went south. The girl I was dating suddenly didn't want to talk to me anymore. Like, what happened? Why? What's going on? All of a sudden my phone wasn't ringing. Business went down. And then when I get rid of them, everything good would come back. I was like, okay, this is really interesting. So I became very aware of that when I was probably, I'm going to guess around 31 or 32, when it really started to kind of hit me upside the head. So overall, what I'm saying is a lot of these decisions and people that you had to cut out of your life, including family, was essentially equivalent to, Abraham, where God said, hey, I want you to sacrifice your son to prove your loyalty. So for those of you who have cut people out of your life, who've moved away, have quit jobs, who've done things that were really, really, not to say, fuck this person, whatever, man, but I mean it really, really hurt. This was like your sacrifice, and you proved your loyalty to God, and you didn't even realize it. And sincerely, you have found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Amen. Alright, so I'm going to end this video at that note right there because I think it's a good place to stop, and I realize I'm talking fast because I was trying to get too many subjects into one video. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know this was not my best video. I hope you did learn something from it. I think it's important. I'll leave it at that. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, click subscribe, click that like button, and go ahead and make a comment if you want. If something clicked with you, something came up, make a comment, and I'll see you guys next video. God bless you.